I said in my Mr. Agrest video that I wasn't going to review every episode from Miraculous Season 6, but then I remembered, wait a minute, I have free will! Hey there, I'm Tori Soar, and today we are going to be talking about Season 6, Episode 6 of Miraculous Ladybug, Sleeping Syren. I especially wanted to talk about this episode in particular because there's been a lot of discourse following this episode dunking on Kim, with so many people proudly proclaiming how much they hate Kim and that he needs to break up with Undine and that he doesn't deserve his Miraculous. So today I'm going to be sharing my own thoughts on this episode and Kim, and it might be a little bit controversial. But with that, let's get right into it. Sleeping Syren follows Undine trying to get her boyfriend Kim to kiss her since they haven't kissed, nor has Kim ever
held my hand or told me that he loved me.
Oblivious to Undine's intentions while also being fed lies about the health risks of kissing a swimmer that's taller than him, Kim refuses to kiss Undine and accidentally insults her, leading to her akumatization. There's surprisingly a lot to unpack about Kim and Undine's relationship that is critical to understanding the scope of this situation. The hate levied at Kim here primarily boils down to him directly hurting and dismissing Undine's feelings. However, it's important to note that all instances of Kim hurting Undine are simply because he's a dumbass that was also being manipulated by a trio of bullies attempting to break them up. Undine's first attempt to get Kim to kiss her is by pouring her heart out by reading a romantic poem she wrote for him, but he unfortunately misinterprets it as a funny story and laughs in her face.
That's such a funny story!
It's clear that Kim isn't trying to make fun of her here, he just genuinely did not pick up on the symbolism of her poem, and to him, she's just reading him this fairy tale completely unprompted. Not to mention he's also in the headspace of this dare to not talk to her in order to win free flippers from Ray. Now that is obviously a very silly and materialistic reason, but Kim ends up failing the challenge anyway because he can't bring himself to not talk to Undine. Loic's miserable attempt to break up Kim and Undine is demanding that Kim is no longer with her, and Kim so matter-of-factly says,
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
I'm telling you, you're not.
And I'm telling you, I am.
Not only is that scene hilarious, but a great indication of Kim being so unquestionably dedicated to his relationship with Undine. With Undine's second attempt to kiss Kim, I don't blame him at all for not picking up on that, because if you're not familiar with the Pocky game, which Kim evidently is not, it just looks like Undine is offering him a biscuit stick in a fun and silly way. I'll expand upon this dynamic in a bit, but Kim and Undine's relationship is founded on them having fun and goofing off with one another, and Kim interpreting this moment as such is unsurprising. Finally, we have the lie about how kissing Undine would be catastrophic for both of their health because of the bacteria from her swimming and that she's taller than him.
It would cause an anaphylactic shock.
What?
Swelling, choking, boom, on the floor, both of you.
That sounds horrible.
Kim, you dumb bitch. Look, this is obviously a very ridiculous lie, but Kim is not smart. Especially because the way Nelson describes the dangers of kissing Undine to Kim sounds scientific, it is unsurprising that Kim so readily accepts it as fact. He cares deeply for Undine, and when he describes the health risks of kissing her, it's because he earnestly believes it and wants to protect both of them.
I really can't kiss you. It's a matter of life or death.
Obviously, Undine takes this as him making fun of her or making a joke to cover the fact that he might not be ready to kiss her, and that's what leads to her akumatization. When Undine is akumatized, Kim goes out of his way and puts himself in danger in an attempt to warn the other heroes not to kiss Undine because he still believes with his full chest that it is dangerous. And once he finally realizes his mistake, he's immediately incredibly remorseful and would understand if Undine wants nothing to do with him.
That means I said horrible things to Undine. She'll never love me again.
So what all this tells us is Kim has never lacked in his care for Undine, and his care for her paired with his lack of intelligence is ultimately what makes him come across like a jackass. I completely understand still not liking Kim as a character because him being an idiot can be exhausting. However, it's pretty clear to me that is the only reason he was problematic at all in this episode, and he does have a really big heart. I also see people pointing to Kim goofing off all the time and not noticing Undine wanting to take their relationship a little bit more seriously as a red flag. However, I don't really see this argument for a couple of reasons. Number one, like I mentioned earlier, Undine and Kim's relationship is founded on a fun and silly dynamic, and that's exactly what attracted Undine to Kim in the first place. In Undine's introductory episode Syren back in season 2, while playing their little secrets game, Kim sticking his toe in his ear is really amusing and endearing to her and is immediately followed up by her attempting to tell Kim that she has a crush on him. After Undine is deakumatized and Kim realizes she was trying to confess to him, he asks her out and immediately makes up for breaking her heart. There's nothing that said he had to do this, especially because he didn't do anything wrong and isn't obligated to return Ondine's feelings. But the fact that he does immediately ask her out shows that he really cares for her and will always correct his mistakes when he gets the opportunity. We see this in Sleeping Syren as well, when he apologizes to Ondine for believing Nelson's lie and hurting her.
I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, Ondine. I shouldn't have believed Nelson without checking the facts. I apologize.
Despite Sleeping Syren focusing on Ondine wanting to take things a little more seriously with Kim, it's clear she still loves their dynamic, as she's amused by him taking her nose at the start of the episode and gets really excited to challenge him to an arm wrestle for the kiss because it is the most fitting for their relationship dynamic. I fully believe if it weren't for Nelson's meddling, he would have happily kissed her in this moment. The second reason I don't buy the argument that Kim not picking up on Ondine's clues is a red flag is that Ondine did not clearly communicate her feelings and intentions at all. Diane even says at the start of the episode,
"Does Kim know that you want to kiss? Maybe you need to ask him."
And Ondine retorts,
That's not romantic at all. In fairy tales, the princess doesn't have to tell the prince that she wants him to kiss her.
However, it's unreasonable for her to expect Kim to pick up on the subtle romantic cues like the poem or the Pocky because that isn't a dynamic that's been established between them. At the very end of the episode, Ondine apologizes to Kim because she realizes this was an unrealistic expectation to place on him,
I'm sorry I made such a fuss about a kiss.
explains why she was so insistent on kissing and her concerns with him not being as invested in the relationship,
I guess I just wanted to feel like you really care about me.
I care about you a lot.
and then tells him he can take all the time he wants before kissing her if he isn't ready, even going so far as to say he never has to kiss her.
As long as we love one another.
It is only after they have that clear conversation establishing their feelings that Kim ends up kissing her entirely of his own volition. And that scene is absolutely adorable, by the way.
1, 2, 3. Hey, that was kinda nice.
I got into an argument with someone in my TikTok comments that was insistent that Kim was pressured into kissing Ondine and he didn't consent to it. I got so exhausted by that conversation that I ended up blocking them because did we even watch the same episode? What are you talking about? So at the end of the day, Kim is not a bad person, and I don't think he and Ondine need to break up. However, if him being an absolute dumbass continues to cause issues in their relationship, I think it would be fair for Ondine to dump him, because it's not fair to her if she ends up suffering because her boyfriend is too stupid to have a healthy relationship with her. This conversation surrounding Kim and Ondine has led many people to question whether Kim deserves his Miraculous or not. Although I disagree with the amount of hate Kim gets and that he and Ondine need to break up, I don't think he should have a Miraculous. Now, the reason for this has nothing to do with his values or capacity for good. I've already discussed many of the ways Kim has proven himself to be a kind-hearted and caring person in Sleeping Syren. The reason Master Fu gives Kim the Monkey Miraculous in Party Crasher is because of his natural reflexes and because he tells Fu,
Helping others should always be a natural reflex.
as far as his heart is concerned, Kim definitely deserves his Miraculous. The problem is his brain. Even back in Party Crasher, Fu immediately questions his decision to give Kim the Monkey Miraculous.
I'm wondering if this was the smartest move after all.
And unlike the other episodes in which the Miraculars are first given the Miraculous or reintroduced in season 6 to make up for the Penalty heroes, Party Crasher is not a Kim-centric episode. Him getting the Miraculous is very much a tertiary plot to Wayham and the surprise party at Adrian's place, and is very much a decision made out of necessity to defeat Party Crasher. So we barely get a good reason as to why Kim was chosen in the first place. And Sleeping Syren, which is clearly meant to play a similar role reintroducing King Monkey, actively paints him in a worse light by highlighting how gullible he is. Marinette originally wants to take his Miraculous back because she thinks he's a bad person, but changes her mind because she realizes he was just gullible and is actually kind-hearted. However, if I was Ladybug and learned just how gullible Kim truly is, I would never trust him with that Miraculous again. Honestly, I would have given it to Ondine instead. Maybe I should draw that. Let me know if you want me to draw Ondine with the Monkey Miraculous in the style of my Miraculous swap videos, because I will do it. In conclusion, do I think Kim is a bad person? No, but I don't blame people for not liking him because his dumbassery can be really frustrating. Do I think Kim and Ondine should break up? No, but only if Kim being idiotic doesn't become a pattern of disrupting their relationship. Do I think Kim deserves his Miraculous? No. Despite him being a good person at his core, I don't think he's responsible enough to be trusted with that power. Before we end this video, I want to talk about a few other details details and little moments from throughout this episode that I found to be enjoyable or interesting. We got to see Kim's parents for the first time, and he has 2 dads. They're also super sweet, and in the 10 seconds we see them interacting with Kim and Ondine, it is abundantly clear how much love they have for their son.
Take good care of our baby, will you?
The scene where the girls talk about their partners at lunch is adorable. One thing I'm so overjoyed to see in season 6 is how unapologetically Julica and Rose are dating, with the show directly calling attention to it instead of insisting they are best friends. I love Reflectall from season 3 because of how well it represents anxiety and panic attacks in Julica, but it hurts my soul every time I hear her say,
"Where are you, my BFF? Come to me. We'll be like twin sisters forever and ever."
The moment where Kagami is talking about her long-distance relationship with Felix and it cuts to them kissing as Argos and Ryuko is both hilarious and adorable.
My boyfriend's on the other side of the sea, which makes communication challenging.
How do you do it then?
Video calls?
I'll talk about this more when I get around to reviewing Yakuza and the Tokyo special, but I did not like Feelagami in the way they were established in season 5, but they are so sweet in season 6 that I cannot be mad about their relationship anymore. When Marinette asks her friends if any of them have had a more simple first kiss, Milen speaks up and says,
Ivan wrote a poem for me. It was super romantic.
which is really sweet. But then I realized, wait a minute, we've actually seen this first kiss back in season 1, and it was anything but simple. Back in Ladybug and Cat Noir Origins, Ivan writes a song for Milen in an attempt to confess his feelings, and it doesn't exactly go well.
Milan, be serene! No, be serene!
This leads him to be akumatized as Stoneheart once more, but after he's been saved, Milen reads Ivan's lyrics and says,
Wow, it's really beautiful.
so this is the poem in question, but where does the kiss come into it? Well, in order to get Stoneheart to drop his akumatized object, Ladybug and Cat Noir pull him and Milen together and make them kiss, which is a very strange season 1 thing for them to do. But technically, that makes this their first kiss, and Milen saying it was because of a poem Ivan wrote isn't wrong. However, she very much buried the lead when it came to the circumstances of that kiss. Of course, it's possible that they don't count that as their first kiss and there was some other instance in which Ivan wrote a poem for her, but it's kind of hilarious if this is the moment that Milen was talking about, because if anything, it is more complicated than Marinette's first kiss. Sleeping Syren also introduced us to the new Aqua power-up designs, and Ladybug looks stunning. Especially going back and watching Syren for this video, this new design is such a glow-up. The one thing I really don't like about Cat Noir's design is his mask. He looks so silly with this little hole for his mouth, and I wish they left his mask as is. However, I really like the rest of his design, especially the fishtail they gave him. We also got the return of Dragonbug in this episode, and got to see her with the Aqua power-up as well as a gorgeous new design. Once again, my only nitpick with this design is the mask, because her forehead looks really naked with the red extending all the way to her hairline with no other details like Ladybug spots. Other than that, this redesign is absolutely stunning as well. Seeing King Monkey in this episode and rewatching Party Crasher made me love his new design so much more. As I've talked about in other videos, I'm still not the hugest fan of his solid gold face and the phoenix feathers since they look like antennae, but I take such little issue with those details now that King Monkey is honestly one of my favorite hero designs from season 6. Until I rewatched this episode, I completely forgot about this trio of bullies working with this mysterious shadow person that seems to be their boss, largely because we have no other indication of their existence. My initial thought was that maybe they're involved with the kingdom, but their attitude and aesthetic doesn't align with the kingdom's values at all, and the kingdom isn't introduced until the next episode anyway, so it'd be kind of weird for them to be associated with this organization that we don't even know exists yet. If this entity isn't a completely independent antagonist, I think it is very possible that they are working for Lila, though I'm not sure why the goal seems to be breaking up couples of all things. It's also possible this mysterious figure has nothing to do with the trio and just happened to show up and intimidate them while they were discussing their goals to break up couples. I think we just haven't seen enough of them yet to start forming solid theories about their goals or what their involvement in the rest of the series is gonna look like. The last thing I want to talk about with Sleeping Syren is the end card, because it is adorable. First of all, Marinette and Adrian playing the Pocky game makes so much sense. It is super cheesy and sweet and perfectly reflects their relationship dynamic, but I especially love how all of the couples are showcased here. One thing I really appreciate is it isn't just all all of them kissing and instead emphasizing affection in different ways, like Ivan and Milan hugging, Alia kissing Nino on the forehead, and Felix and Kagami leaning on one another. However, the best part of this end card are the couples that are kissing. Obviously, we have Adrian and Marinette because of the Pocky game and Kim and Ondine, since that was the whole point of the episode, but we also have Julica and Rose, and Mark and Nathaniel. I already mentioned how overjoyed I am to see Julica and Rose unapologetically dating in season 6, but them including Mark and Nathaniel as well has me overjoyed, especially because they could have so easily been excluded here. They are the only couple in this end card that wasn't featured or discussed in the episode, and Mark and Nathaniel themselves are only seen when they are running to safety from the Akuma attack and while they are superheroes. For these two to be featured as such in this end card means a lot, especially because up until this point, the closest thing we've really had to their relationship being confirmed is them holding hands in season 5. Although I am still a bit disappointed that the ruler had to rely so heavily on metaphor in order to highlight their relationship and address homophobia, I am so glad we got to see them kiss here because they deserve it. Although Ray, Loic, and Nelson are obviously featured here because they're the antagonists of the episode trying to break up the couples, I think it's funny to imagine them as a polycule of bullies that is so dead set on breaking everyone else up because they're the only ones that deserve to be in a relationship. That is exactly the level of petty I would expect from these three. Anyway, that does it for this video. Let me know what you thought of Sleeping Syren and if you agree with my stance on Kim in this episode. Once again, I did say I wasn't going to review every single episode from season 6, but it's looking like that's probably what I am going to do, so make sure to subscribe so you can see those reviews when they come out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like if you did. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time.